For some reason, Zoom blocked and froze. So I'm going to continue where I left off. Anyways, the X-rays were abandoned, of course, because they were unhealthy, and they needed. They didn't need to do them because of phonetics, of course. But this is an interesting video where you can observe so many details of how certain speech sounds are produced, especially vowels. And we are going to focus on a couple of just two vowels to show the difference. So let's take a look at this.
A te, a ke, a pa, a ta, a ka, a de, a ne, a se, a ze, a sa, hep, het, heck, hop, hot, hawk, a tea, a tin, a ta, a tu, a tu, a tet, a tot, a tech, a pen, he dee, he da, he gee, he ga, ye ya. Why did Ken set the soggy net on top of his deck? I have put blood on her two clean yellow shoes. Stop.
Yeah, it's unclear to me why they who wrote the script for the last two sentences and the blood on her yellow shoes, but I guess they just want to include all of the vowels. And if you take a look at this one,
He,
you see the tongue here, which is very up high, and now when he produces it comes to the low part of the mouth.
he got.
Yeah, here it is, and the tongue goes way back into your mouth, of course, but here it is, and you can see clearly the difference between these two and many more vowels if you want to observe this this difference. And we'll go back to this video, I guess, during the course of our course many times. The thing is with the American vowel space, now we come to the vowel space that we can draw from based on our knowledge on the description of the dimensions. Basically, this is the frontness dimension and this is the height dimension. So high, mid, high, mid, low, and front, central, and back. Whereby the difference in certain vowels in the American vowel space appears in schwa and wedge. The difference was noticed by Dr. Winters, who listened to Bruce Springsteen a lot for some reason. I'm not a fan of Bruce Springsteen personally, but I guess Dr. Winters is because you know, he's American and he has this feeling of being on the road, and he likes to travel a lot as well. So it's good music to listen while traveling. I think once he told me that. Anyways, the Bruce Springsteen has a song which I provide here, which I don't want to play for you right now, but at the beginning of this song, you can just listen to it. At the beginning of the song, Bruce Springsteen says, and so you listen to, actually, no, this one. Actually, I'll play it. I have to play it because
Imagine Dragons.
I guess the dragons are coming to Calgary. I've advertised them so many times, but be safe. Times were tough and love was not enough. I don't want to impersonate Bruce Springsteen, but when he says tough, he says it with a schwa, and it should be said with a wedge. So he sings it like this. Oops. Nope. And and then he goes back to tough with a wedge. So you probably hear the difference. That's because Bruce is originally from New Jersey, and he's pretending to be from the south, but the real Bruce emerges at some point. The shift that is going on here is basically, well, this is another thing I wanted to say. So here is the again, the schwa and a wedge, but there are other vowels that are tricky to produce in here, and the shift is in the American English and in Canadian English is somewhere around these vowels. So which we will see in the next slide. But for now, you can just take a look at how I produce these vowels, or just listen.
Oh.
This is an open O, so we'll go in this way. Open O.
Oh.
Then a bit lower, still rounded.
Oh.
Oh, what a cute puppy, for example. Oops, what do I do? And as in hard. Yeah. Then we go front with our tongue, as you know, when doctor tells you to say that's usually what I do. Then this one, and yeah, that's these are the 4 or 5 vowels that are usually are very close to each other in the production, in the articulation terms, so that they shift away from each other. And what's going on in Canadian English is actually it's the opposite of what's going on in American English. In American English, the shift is clockwise. So from, let's say, from this rounded to unrounded, and so on. But in Canadian English, we'll start from here, from this lower part. The shift is counterclockwise. So we have from Bob to Bob. So we're going counterclockwise. Then this vowel, open, low, back, unrounded, becomes a rounded one, and it leaves some space for another vowel to fill it in. So this decides to shift down towards half. Then to
bed, head,
and finally
bid,
to
head,
bed, which we talked about. And then there is a general oo fronting, spoons, and we can denote it with this oo, which is towards our back. So it would be oo, and so on and so forth. And finally, we have upsilon, hood, towards
hood,
towards schwa, and it kind of follows this principle, this pattern. So the shift is basically counterclockwise, and each vowel is leaving some space for another vowel to fill it in or fill it up, and that's the natural cause of things, right? Most of you will produce, I guess, these this closer to which is what we hear today. In the Canadian vowel shift, we already talked about this shift from unrounded to rounded, low back vowel. However, this rule only applies to native. For borrowed words, that's a different story. Something interesting is going on there. Becomes or for example, in words such as instead of saying, these are borrowed words, so many Canadians would say them as pasta, Mazda, even gracias, or I'm really curious how you produce garage or garage, or whether you produce them. This is British garage, which is completely uncommon. But that's what we've noticed. Dr. Darren Flynn, our professor at the University of Calgary, you probably know him. He has a daughter whose name is Tara, and I think they named her Tara, but when they go to some Canadians, they usually produce her as Tara. So it's just the nativization process that's going on. The nativization process is actually quite common. One of the examples, a very famous example or popular example, is the nativization of Merry Christmas by Hawaiian speakers. In Hawaiian English, or in Hawaiian language, it's more precise to say, there is a phonological structure that's called consonant vowel, so CV structure of a syllable. So they do not allow syllables that are closed. So they would not say bit, they will always say b, and that's their syllable. That's how their language works. And in Merry Christmas, there is a Christmas part, which is, problematic for them. So they nativized it into, so this word, or this very famous word, came from English into Hawaiian, and they nativized it, hopefully I'm using this verb correctly, into mele kilikamaku or something like that. But you get the point. And the point is that phonology is important. Sounds exhibits pattern in a language. Specific allophones of a phoneme often emerge in specific phonetic contexts. For example, the flap, like in English, appears when t or d precede an unstressed syllable, and that's how the phonology is guided. These are the production of specific allophones are governed by phonological rules. For example, metal, when the first syllable is stressed, then the flap will be realized, and there will be usually this syllabic l. Then there is metallic, where the first syllable is unstressed, and metallic will be realized as an aspirated t. So these are governed by phonological rules, and that's why we have to be aware of phonology. And in the course book, we have a lot of allophony, English allophony explained, I think, in chapter 3. So go through those. In order to know better how to transcribe certain patterns, if something does not fit very well with, or does not sit very well with you, then you should check at the phonological rule. You can also take a look for the end of this part. William Shatner. Yeah, I think I have it here. William Shatner is a famous American actor. I believe he's still alive, who starred in Star Trek, and he has a certain way of saying sabotage.
Sabotage of a government installation. I sabotage him. Then he told me where he had sabotaged the prime energy circuits. Is this why you sabotaged my ship? In a deliberate act of sabotage, Lieutenant Uhura has effectively sabotaged the communication station. Spock, sabotage the system.
Okay, you have line 193 again with sabotage.
I don't say sabotage. You say so. I say sabotage.
Yeah, so Captain Kirk, sticking his guns because he doesn't want to admit that he's saying sabotage, and directors are asking him to produce it in a different way, but he remains true to his Canadianness. Actually, he's a Canadian, and very few people know this, but this is something that is going on in Canadian English, and it's normal. Of course, it's nothing to be ashamed of. we just described language. And I guess these are the patterns that occur because they are governed by their phonology. We'll continue with some other patterns in the second video of this, or the third now video, because my first video was stopped by Zoom, the third video of this installment. Yeah, see you soon.